Welcome to the 5-Pack, where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Welcome in on a Wednesday, May the 3rd, 2023, also known, this is the truth, as National Lumpy Rug Day. So if you got a lumpy rug in your household, make sure to give it a little love on this Wednesday. I do not have a lumpy rug. In fact, I don't know if I've owned a lot of rugs in my life. I don't know if I'm above average or below average, but I don't recall ever having a lumpy rug. That sounds like something that people from the 1970s would have to deal with, right? A lumpy rug. Hopefully none of us are dealing with lumpy rugs, but hey, today's the day to deal with a lumpy rug. Good to have you with us on the 5-Pack. We do not talk a whole lot about lumpy rugs here. Instead, we talk about the sports world, things that matter, things that will matter, and yes, we relive the past. Going back to 1990 later today, 1990 Donruss. You know it's an old pack, honestly. When you put images of baseball players on the front, it's like some high school student's drawing of what a pitcher would look like. This appears to be, I would term this Minnesota Twins circa 1984 with the M and everything else airbrushed out of it. But that is a drawing. That's how they did it back in the day. Nowadays, you either get a real player on the front, you pay for that player on the front, or you just get an image of the brand. But back in the day, Donruss would tell you, hey, just if you didn't know how to read, just if you couldn't read baseball front and center, we'll put a baseball player of no known name or anything else. We'll put him on the cover. So we'll open up some 1990 Donruss. There's an interesting couple of things going on with this card set. One, you know, nowadays in 2023, we have all sorts of variations of cards, like platinum this, gold single series, that whatever the hell they call it. We have variations everywhere. We also had variations in 1990. So we'll talk a little bit more about those as we get later in the show. We begin, though, with our 5 things that matter each and every day, right here and only here on the 5-Pack. We catch you up on what you might have missed from last night, what you should care about, and then we also look ahead to what you need to care about going into tonight. But let's begin with the 5 things from Tuesday that do matter. And we start with the NBA playoffs. We got game 1 taken care of between the Warriors and the Lakers. And I got to say, it was a pretty enjoyable battle. I wouldn't term it an epic battle, an all-time great, but it was close to the end. We had big shots. I will say the crowd in the Bay Area was in. They were fired up. And we'll see, once this series switches to LA, do we get the same sort of crowd vibe? We'll see. Golden State came to play, but they came up short. Let's take a look at the Lakers putting up some big moments in the second half.
Lakers either adjust their pick and roll defense or Curry's going to get 3-point looks.
LeBron James lays it in. Gets to that right hand, goes strong. Draymond Green back on the floor. Trying to set up Curry, who finds Looney, and Vanderbilt with the block.
I don't know very many teams that can put better defensive lineups on the floor.
Davis, offensive board, and the putback.
If you're the opposing coach, then Steph Curry in there, Vanderbilt loses him. And as you said, he doesn't need much space.
Vanderbilt hits a 3.
Execution by the Warriors.
Schroeder gives it up. LeBron, long 2 over Wiggins. LeBron James.
Oh, LeBron. I think he traveled, right? Right when he caught that ball. Didn't he travel? You might be wondering, wait a second, Kyle. Lakers, that was all Laker highlights. They were up by 10 with 6 minutes to go. What do you mean it was a good game? Well, it was a good game because, yes, the Lakers were up by 10 with 6 minutes to go, but the Warriors had one of their patented comeback runs.
More of a chance of getting looks off kick and rolls than he does coming off pin downs and screens to handoffs.
Curry keeps the dribble, and he gets it to go, and 1. Well, Wiggins and Vanderbilt got tied up. Curry pushes, kicks it. Here's Thompson now. Splash Brothers! Curry with a rebound. Warriors push. Wiggins down in the corner. Curry, some nifty dribbling, but a block by LeBron. What a play by LeBron James. Just as this building was going to pop. Schroeder denied by Green. Thompson to Curry. Curry lays it in. Green kicks it. Curry to Poole. Three-pointer. Down it goes. Curry got him dancing.
Well, they wanted to switch. They wanted to get Russell on him, and they got it.
Reset. Curry. Down it goes again. We are tied at 112. 14-0 run. Russell guarded by Wiggins. Top shot. Big bucket for D'Angelo Russell.
But just like the first quarter, Curry's gone on a flurry with Vanderbilt out of the game. This is the matchup he wants.
Curry blocked by Davis.
Told you. It was enjoyable. It was fun. Even watching those highlights, I'm having fun. I saw it the first time. The second time, it's just as much fun. That three by Curry, by the way, to tie it up at 112, that was something. Pretty incredible. 117 to 112 was the final. You saw the block there at the end by Anthony Davis. Lakers hit a few free throws down the stretch, and they take game one. Davis was huge. 30 points, 23 rebounds, and 4 blocks. LeBron, not too shabby either, 22 and 11. He tossed in 3 blocks. And I got to say, that was a storyline here. The big Lakers. They talked about it a lot on that TNT broadcast last night. The Lakers went big. They put Jared Vanderbilt on Steph. They put LeBron James on Draymond Green. They had Anthony Davis on Kevon Looney. Now, I'm not going to say that just destroyed the Warriors. It didn't. It was a pretty close game. But it was very notable that when the Lakers took that 10-point lead with about 5:50 left in the game, Steve Kerr said, we're going small. We're going real small. They took out Looney, and he disappeared from the game. And all of a sudden, the Warriors started to get that run going. 14-0 was that run at home before the Lakers put it out and eventually got that win. So now as we move forward to game 2, and this is the beauty of whether it's the NBA playoffs or the NHL playoffs, even Major League Baseball's playoffs, the absolute beauty, and we don't get this in the NFL, the beauty of 5 consecutive games against your opponent, 6 or even 7. It's awesome. All the changes, the storylines, the big moments, the bad moments, it all kind of flows together into a great narrative. So last night was chapter 1. It was a good one, not a great one, but we're probably going to get a couple of great ones before it's all said and done. A couple of things to continue to follow outside of the size and kind of how the Warriors adjust. Do they go small? Do they go big? Check out the free throw and 3-point disparity between these two teams. And these numbers, by the way, are not a surprise because that is how these teams play. But last night it was dramatic. For instance, free throw attempts. The Lakers had 29 as a road team. Remember, the conspiracy theorists say that road teams never get the whistles. Lakers had 29 free throw attempts. The Warriors had 6 in that game. Well, why is that? Look how the two teams play. Lakers drive to the hoop. Now, they'll shoot threes. They shot, 25 last night? Golden State shot 53 three-pointers. So Golden State's not driving to the rim. They're not creating contact. They're not getting to the charity stripe. Lakers are. So, again, you're going to see that disparity. I don't know if it's going to be to that point. 29-6 from the line, 53-25 from behind the arc. Don't know if we'll reach that level throughout the series, but we did reach it last night. Game 2 is Thursday evening, 9 o'clock on ESPN. Golden State is favored by 5.5 in that game for Thursday night. The series odds have flipped. Lakers now minus 175 to win the series. Golden State is plus 145 to win the series. Let's go to our second little bit of sports that matters. Go to the NHL playoffs where, gotta admit, probably the 2 biggest storylines thus far, the surprising Florida Panthers and the surprising Seattle Kraken. Both of those teams maintained the surprise on Tuesday night.
Backs up Brody, trying to hold the zone, but now played away by Barkov. Duclair knocked down at the line. Good play by McCabe. Back in come the Leafs. It's putting again in front. McCabe tied up as Mahura makes the defensive play. Brody comes across. He's trapped. Here's a break for Hagee. Scores! And a counter punch by Florida. And they're back in the lead.
Oh, Carter, we'll go to the Seattle highlight. I tell you what, Heather, just let the highlight roll. Let's watch the Kraken get the OT winner.
Take the one-timer. Instead, Bjorkstrand puts one on net. The rebound on the doorstep. Controlled by Yanni Gourde. Swings it towards the net. Score! Yanni Gourde! A wheel around wrister wins it in overtime. Seattle takes the early lead in this best of 7.
It was in front of him, and from there, Gourde just simply wins the puck. I mean, there's green sweaters around there, but Gourde, who constantly wins battles and pucks, is able to find that puck and quickly.
OT winner for the Seattle Kraken, 5-4 on the road in Dallas. A little easier for Florida. They get a 4-2 victory on the road against Toronto, but as noted, the surprising moments continue. Both those teams taking away home ice advantage. Now, looking at those games, I will say, Florida-Toronto, the Maple Leafs shouldn't feel too awful about that game. The game was very up and down with a lot of good pace. Eventually, that's going to play into the hands of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would be my assumption. If Florida, who's apt to play that way, it's not like Florida came out and surprised the Maple Leafs. Florida loves to pepper the net with shots. So in terms of pace, we're going to see a lot of that between the Leafs and the Panthers. Game 2 is going to be tomorrow night, just after 7 o'clock on TNT. Series odds right now, Florida minus 125. Toronto, we're still not getting good odds on them, plus 105. I like Toronto still in this series, but I like to see that number like plus 130 before I get excited. Vegas is still not convinced by the Panthers. They're also not convinced by the Kraken, by the way. Series odds after the win by Seattle, Dallas is still the favorite at minus 120. Seattle's even money at plus 100. Of note in that win by the Kraken, Joe Pavelski of the Dallas Stars, he's 38 years old. He had missed the previous 5 games for Dallas. He came back last night, and in the 5-4 loss, he scored all 4 goals for the Dallas Stars. I mentioned his age, 38, by the way, because he is the oldest player in NHL history to have 4 goals in a playoff game. And it's not even close. I think the Rocket, Maurice Richard, he was 35. Like I said, Pavelski, 38. And that's a storyline here. Pavelski gets all 4 goals for the Stars. Now they have scoring. They have other guys who can certainly find the back of the net. But for Seattle, check out the box score. The Kraken got 5 goals in that game. All 5 of them from different guys. And that continues a storyline we saw in that upset of Colorado, is the fact that Seattle spreads it out like crazy with their scoring. All hands on deck, kind of, for the Seattle team. They also have game 2 tomorrow night, also on TNT. That'll be a 9:30 start as the NHL playoffs continue. Let us move to baseball. What matters from what we saw last night? Did you ever think that I would send you out to Oakland, California for a big baseball moment? Well, I will, because last night in baseball, we had a couple of guys, both with the last name of Miller, looking good on the hill. We'll start with Seattle's Bryce Miller.
And did he get it? Yes, indeed. First big league strikeout for Bryce Miller. 2 outs here in the second. Ball 2 strikes. Top rail got him. Here comes a 3-2 pitch. They got him looking. 3 consecutive strikeouts.
And another strikeout. That's 4 consecutive strikeouts for the young man. It's a rainbow above the ballpark right now. And it bodes well for Bryce Miller. Strikes out the side. 5 consecutive.
10 strikeouts for Bryce Miller. Who's Bryce Miller? That was his major league debut. Highlights courtesy of Ruth Sports out of Seattle. 10 strikeouts, no walks for Bryce Miller. 3rd time in the history of baseball that a pitcher has debuted with at least 10 strikeouts and no walks. The other 2 guys are Steven Strasburg and Johnny Cueto. Those are the only 3 guys in the history of baseball to do that. Bryce Miller retired the first 16 Oakland A's that he faced. Pretty good, right? He ended up giving up 2 hits, an earned run as well. Next matchup for him is scheduled to be next Monday, taking on the Texas Rangers, but a stellar MLB debut. And of course, Seattle needs that. Robbie Ray is now done for the season. Now, again, Bryce Miller was not the only Miller that was dealing last night in Oakland. Let's give a shout out to the guy on the other side of this pitching matchup. That's right. For the A's, they had Mason Miller on the hill.
1-2 to Teoscar Hernandez, and he swings and misses. Hernandez will do that a lot, and that's the 2nd strike. I don't think it is. And that's on the outside. Another 3-2, and he got the call in the outside corner. Strike 3 called. 3rd strikeout for Miller. He's been terrific. Back into the batter's box, waiting the 3-2. Here it is. Swing and a miss, struck him out. Well, how much fun has this here? 3-2. And he did, and he got him swinging. Nasty breaking ball. Miller trying to get through 7. 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging.
Do you ever look at those highlights of the Bay Area when we go to Oakland and you see all those people in the bottom rows? And I don't know about you, but remember, nobody comes to the game. I think last night they had like 2,500 as they announced attendance. I wonder in Oakland, do they give those first few rows away? Or do you actually have to buy those rows? I wonder if those are free handouts. 2,500 people at that game last night for Miller versus Miller. Now, again, Bryce Miller of Seattle, 10 strikeouts. He was huge. Mason Miller, not as many Ks, 6 of them. He had 4 walks, but he didn't allow a hit for 7 innings last night. Unfortunately, in baseball 2023, he reached his pitch count limit. So he got to 100 pitches, and after 7 no-hit innings, he was yanked. So there was no no-hitter. Reliever came in. He blew it. Seattle wins that game, by the way, 2-1. Mason Miller, 3 starts. We've talked about him before here on the show. And the 3 starts have been good. Overall, you're looking at 17 strikeouts and 15 in the 3rd innings. The ERA is 3.5. The whip is just a shade below 1. Now, next up for Miller is a road start at Yankee Stadium. That'll be fun. That's coming up next Monday there for the young A's right-hander. Again, thanks to NBC Sports Bay Area for the footage there. Let's move to our 4th moment that matters. This one in the world of football. And it was not on the field. This was a signing, more specifically, an extension that was announced yesterday. Green Bay Packers, they commit to an extent to Jordan Love. Now, you might have said, well, they committed a week and a half ago when they traded Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Yeah, that's true. But financially, they committed to Jordan Love beyond this season. Jordan Love would have been, if the Packers don't pick up the 5th-year option, he would have been a free agent after year number 4. We talked about this last week, and I said the Packers are in a weird spot now. For the 4th year of Jordan Love, they're giving him the reins, but they've got to make a decision on year 5 before we even see him in year 4. Well, the Packers announced yesterday they got creative just a bit. They have decided to give a 1-year extension to Jordan Love, not to give him the 5th-year option. Not going to pay, what would that have been like? I think it would have been like $23 million guaranteed. For a guy who's done nothing in the NFL, they would have had to commit $23 million. Instead, the Packers make the smart move, in my opinion, and they give him $13 million guaranteed for year 5 with the opportunity to get up to like 21, 22 million. This is a deal where both sides win. Jordan Love gets $13 million guaranteed, even if he fails miserably in his fourth year. Beyond that, the Packers get a cheaper Jordan Love for year 5, and they get to watch him more. It's not a one and done scenario, which would have been unfair, and it's unfair to the Packers. They need to see this fourth year and see, okay, are we seeing signs that he can be the next guy up? Are we seeing worries that he can't be the next guy up? So let's say he sucks this year. Well, you're on the hook for $13 million, but that's not terrible. It really isn't. The Packers would be on the hook for $13 million, but it's worth the risk, because if he's good this year, then you have trouble. Then you got to give him a huge extension. You got to give him $30+ million a year. Now with the extension they announced yesterday, they have him for year 5 no matter what he does. Good or bad, they got him for the 5th year, and they're not paying an arm and a leg to keep him. And take a look at the Packers depth chart. I think Heather pulled this courtesy of ESPN earlier today. If you look at this depth chart from the Packers, yes, you've got Jordan Love. Yes, you have Aaron Jones. Yes, you have Christian Watson. That's a good 1, 2, 3. You know, we're still wondering what Love can be, but pretty solid. Look at the rest of it, though. Look at those wide receivers. Jaden Reed was drafted this week out of Michigan State, 2nd rounder. Romeo Doubs got a lot of hype last season, didn't do anything with it. Look at those backups. Dontavian Wicks, Samori Toure, which is fun to say, Samori Toure, and Bo Melton, and Grant DeBose. This is not the most exciting crew of receivers. Now, Luke Musgrave, the tight end that you see there, he was just drafted out of Oregon State. They're young. They're inexperienced, just like Jordan Love. I bring up this depth chart, and I bring up the extension because the Packers are going to need that money that they saved. Whether it's on offense or defense or somewhere else, they're going to need that money. So this also helps them in terms of that depth chart. Finally, our 5th thing that matters today, the NFL. Just a reminder that the NFL matters to a lot of people. It was announced yesterday by the NFL that viewership for the NFL draft was up 12%. What's that number there? 54.5 million viewers over the 3 days. Up and up and up. The NFL also announced yesterday that this past year's Super Bowl, number 57, that set the all-time record for Super Bowl viewership. They had an adjustment. Somehow they screwed up the numbers early on. But now they have figured things out, and Super Bowl 57 was the most watched Super Bowl ever. And then, of course, you got the NFL draft. More and more and more that the NFL rules the roost. Now, this draft was in Kansas City. I saw that Kansas City spent a little over $3 million, and I bet that number is going to be larger when everything's factored in. But let's say $3.5 million they spent on putting on this event. They did not have to pay for this event. But you just saw 55 million people saying Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City, and probably saying, wow, that Union Station looks cool. Wow, Kansas City in the backdrop. That looks good. I can speak for a fact, by the way, Kansas City, very cool. Very cool. Cheap, growing, fun, all that stuff. If you're looking for a place that isn't Austin, Texas, or Denver, or God forbid, Nashville, head to Kansas City. Anyway, I bring that up because now the NFL draft is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Next year, it's in Detroit. It's rumored in 2025 to be heading to Green Bay. Again, these cities pay nothing, but they will fork out $3, $4, maybe $5 million to put on the event. Is it worth it? I'll leave it to the economists. I do know this. You get a lot of people saying Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City in the month of April. That never say Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City in the month of April. But the NFL, still big time. Big, big numbers. Remember like 5 years ago when the NFL was dead? Remember that? And remember how awful Roger Goodell is? Yet the people who employ him, you think they believe he's awful? Nah, not a chance. Those are the 5 things that matter today on the 5-pack. Coming up, we got 5 things that will matter for tonight. First, though, the Kentucky Derby is coming up this weekend. That's right, one of my favorite events of the year. It's coming, and Mark Malusis is going to get you set right now to do some wagering on the Kentucky Derby.
It is Derby week in the Malusis household. Very, very special week. First Saturday in May is always circled on the calendar. 1.25 miles, Churchill Downs, Louisville, Kentucky. 23-year-olds, a run for the roses. Greatest 2 minutes in sports. And it is a slice of Americana. If you don't know, well, welcome. Come on in. We're going to educate you. If you do know, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this week is just as special to you at home as it is to me right up here in Stamford, Connecticut. Well, the fact of the matter is that if what makes thoroughbred racing different than everything else is unbelievably, the equine athlete is gorgeous. It's beautiful. You go through the layers of the different storylines around the trainers and the jockeys, fantastic. And some of them storylines will bring a tear to your eye. With all that being said, it's also an opportunity to turn a little bet into a lot of money. And that's exactly what we're here for, whether it be a win bet play show or whether it be an exacta trifecta. Maybe you're playing pick 4s or pick 5s. We're going to be breaking it down over the course of the week right here on Better Sports Network. But I want to tell you and everybody at home right now that's watching this, welcome to Derby Week. It is a fantastic event. I'm excited for it. Saturday can't get here soon enough. We are just 3 days away. Check out the comments below for a special offer right here from the Better Sports Network.
Welcome back to the 5-pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Thank you very much, Heather Klein, for that. Coming up in just a bit, 1990 Donruss. We will relive baseball from damn near a quarter century ago. Kind of always, we're really feeling our groove this week. I think we've had 89, 90, maybe 92. Yeah, we're feeling it this week. Kyle Elfrink with you on the 5-pack. Got to echo what Mark Malusis was saying there. The Derby, it's a fun one. I've been once. I've got a very good friend of mine who just moved to Louisville, but he only got unpacked like a month ago. I told him, I'll give you this year for you and the family to enjoy it. You know, catch your breath, get your feet under, kind of scan the grounds and everything that goes on with Derby Week. There is no other week. I would even say the week in Louisville, and this is gonna cause you to shudder. I was just talking about the power of the NFL, but the week in Louisville is a bigger event for that city than even Super Bowl week in whatever city that's hosted. I'll make that claim. Not economically. I'm just saying everybody in Louisville, everybody, whether you care about horse racing or not, is in to that week. And there are events all week long involving hundreds of thousands of people. Now, the Super Bowl, you're in a city where you probably don't even have 2 teams that anybody follows, where some people just don't care about football. Sure, they'll watch the game on Sunday, but they're not doing things Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Nah. The Derby in Louisville, they do that. So there you go. It's a bigger week in Louisville than even Super Bowl week is. Sticking to it. And I've been once. It's awesome. Fabulous. I will say, and the other great thing about that event, if you show up, they will get you in. It's not like you have to buy your tickets 6 months out or that you have to win a lottery to get into the Super Bowl. Hell no. You show up, you can get in the infield. It's like, I think when I went, it was about $30 or so. This is 15, 20 years ago. Probably up to about $50, $60. So you got to have the money. They're not going to let you in for free. But it's not outlandish. It gets you in the whole day. You can show up at 10 a.m. You leave at 7 p.m. It's a hell of a good time. I would recommend it for all people. Man, I'm pushing Louisville. I'm pushing Kansas City on people. What else am I going to push on people? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is time for our 5 things that will matter tonight. Let us start with a showdown of 2 guys, and this is a fun picture. Back in 2015, these 2 guys went number 1 and number 2 in the NHL draft. Selecting number 1 were the Edmonton Oilers, they went with Connor McDavid. And right behind them, the Buffalo Sabres went to Jack Eichel. Do we have that photo of these two guys? This is 8 years ago, almost exactly 8 years ago, of Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. We'll maybe get you that photo. But they're young. Oh, and they had the world at their feet. What would they become? Well, 8 years later, we kind of know what they've become. Connor McDavid is an all-time stud. Just an absolute stud. Jack Eichel's good. Jack Eichel played for a really bad organization in Buffalo. He had a back injury. There's the photo of 8 years ago. They've grown up a lot in 8 years. Jack Eichel still kind of looks like that. McDavid has filled out like crazy. And in these 8 years, I mentioned that McDavid's a full-on grade. 850 points in 569 games. 850. For Eichel, he's got 446 and 477. Now, tonight, the two will meet. And although Connor McDavid is still with Edmonton, Jack Eichel is now with the Vegas Golden Knights. And this all kind of relates back to his back injury. The treatment that Buffalo wanted for Eichel is not one that he wanted. So he was traded to Vegas. Tonight, game 1 of round 2 in the Western Conference playoffs. Edmonton against Vegas. It's going to be at 9:30 on ESPN. Edmonton is the favorite in this series, minus 150. Vegas is at plus 130. Worth noting when we talk about these two guys who have always been associated with each other, worth noting that for Connor McDavid, this will be his 3rd appearance in the NHL's second round. Last year, he made the 3rd round. He has never made the Stanley Cup. So it's about time for him to get to a Stanley Cup final. For Jack Eichel, this is his first ever playoff run. So again, in 2015, he's being drafted to save a franchise. They don't make the playoff once in Buffalo. He's traded to Vegas. He's finally in the postseason. First time in his career. 5-game series against Winnipeg. He had 5 points. He was okay in that series. Tonight, they'll get rolling. Edmonton taking on Vegas. Should be a fun one there. Let's go to our second item that will matter for tonight. A little basketball. We got some news this morning, and it certainly is going to shake things up a bit. The MVP is back. Reports out of Boston say that Joel Embiid will be on the court tonight playing in game number 2 against the Boston Celtics. Now, very quickly, the odds switched up just a bit. Philadelphia had been a 9-point dog before the news that Embiid was going to be playing. Latest check is they are now a 7.5-point dog. Game is going to be at 8 o'clock tonight on TNT. Embiid was named the MVP just yesterday. So I guess the hardware shows up. The NBA says, you get this hardware, go out and play. So Embiid's back. No, that's not how it works. But MVP can soothe what ails you, I guess. He'll be out there for game 2. I was looking at the over-under for points in this game. Embiid is listed at 24.5. The over 24.5 is minus 135. The under is plus 105. I wouldn't touch either of those sides. You just don't know how a knee's going to react. I don't know how Embiid's going to react. And, of course, Philadelphia leads the series 1-0 right now. We'll see how it goes. Good news for Philadelphia. He will be out there tonight. And, again, you can catch the action over on TNT. Let's move to our third item that will matter tonight. We've got a pair of debuts in Major League Baseball. And they're not this evening. They're actually this afternoon. The first one is in Texas, where the Arizona Diamondbacks are taking on the Texas Rangers. The second game is over in Los Angeles, where the Dodgers are hosting Philadelphia. We're going to have Gavin Stone making his debut, and then Brandon Pfaadt. And let's all have a little lesson here. Pfaadt, because you're going to see this last name. It is P-F-A-A-D-T. That is not pronounced fat. Okay? It's Brandon Pfaadt, the right-hander for the Diamondbacks. So he's going to be pitching in Texas today. First pitch there is 2:05. You got Gavin Stone going up against the Phillies at 4:10. Both of these pitchers are top 50 prospects. Both of them making their debut. Interestingly enough, both of these guys, Stone and Fott, were 5th-round draft picks in 2020. Why is that interesting? Well, in 2020, that was the year of COVID. We only had 5 rounds back in 2020 because all the scouts couldn't be out seeing guys in college and in high school. So we only went 5 rounds back in 2020. And both these guys, Gavin Stones and Brandon Fott, they were drafted less than 3 years ago. And now they're in the bigs. If you were to look at the two guys and say who's got the bigger upside, it's probably Fott. He's about 6'4", throws hard. He's kind of a 2 or a 3. Neither of these guys profile as like a true ace, but both of them are solid. Fott is part of this incoming arsenal of youth that Arizona has. And right now, Arizona's in the thick of it. It's only a month into the season, but they're looking good. Part of it is they're trying to keep pace with the Dodgers. Don't look now, but the Dodgers have won 5 straight as they take on Philadelphia this afternoon. Gavin Stone's going to be out there. We talked about Noah Syndergaard. I guess it was, when was that? Friday maybe of last week, or maybe it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday because we were talking about the start of May. And one thing I noted here on the 5-pack is that Noah Syndergaard is a guy with a lot of attention on him and a lot of pressure kind of on him for the month of May. And I bring that up because the Dodgers need starting pitching. You know, they got to have guys out there, and Syndergaard ain't cutting it. And so somebody like Gavin Stone, you know, probably gets 4 innings today, maybe 5. Who knows if he goes well, but has a chance to stick here. Has a chance to be a part of this Dodgers rotation, just like Fott does. Now, if you're looking for odds on these two guys, I was looking on DraftKings, and at least when I looked about an hour ago, you could not get individual pitching props on either of these guys for their game this afternoon. I will say Vegas doesn't really know what to do with these two guys. A, they don't have any pitching props. And B, look at the game odds. Right now, Arizona is a slight underdog against Texas at plus 105. The Dodgers-Phillies game later today, that's a true coin flip, minus 110. So that's a true 50-50 as Vegas sees it, minus 110 with Gavin Stone on the hill. Again, 405 for Stone's debut, and or actually 410 for Stone's debut, 205 for Fott's debut. Let's go to item number 4 that will matter today. Some good news, some great news. Later today, Liam Hendriks, one of the best closers in all of baseball, will begin his rehab assignment. Where's Liam Hendriks been? Well, he's been fighting cancer. Less than 4 months ago, Liam Hendriks was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now he's back on a professional diamond. He is in remission. He will begin his rehab today. Probably looking at 2 weeks for him to get back. Now, I know a lot of fantasy players have been waiting and waiting and waiting. This news is as absolutely good as you could ever expect. Now, for the White Sox, it is great news as well. Their bullpen's been a disaster. Their year has been a disaster. So is their bullpen. They're 9-21 on the season. I was looking at their bullpen today. Ronaldo Lopez has the most saves in that bullpen. He's the guy, quote unquote, filling in for Liam Hendriks. Ronaldo Lopez has an 8.76 ERA and a 1.71 whip. It's been really bad. He gets strikeouts, but unless he's K-ing you, the hitter's usually blasting the baseball somewhere. So they need help. I mean, last night they had Alex Colomé out there. And, of course, he blew an 8th inning lead. So they need Liam Hendriks. I would suspect 2 weeks or so that we're away. By the way, the White Sox, 8 games back in the AL Central, their current odds to make the playoffs are at plus 800. Probably about 4 weeks ago at the start of the season, I think the White Sox would have been at about plus 280, plus 300. Now, plus 800 just to make the playoffs, not to win the division, but plus 800 to make the playoffs. Finally, our 5th thing that will matter, and let me spin into the personal here. Tonight, I will be in the audience for something that really didn't hit me until this morning. Shohei Ohtani is going to be pitching right here in St. Louis, Missouri. His first ever appearance in St. Louis. Last night, the Angels beat the Cardinals, but Ohtani had the day off. Well, lucky Kyle Elfrink. I get to see Ohtani hit, and tonight I get to see Ohtani pitch. This is exciting times in St. Louis. Who knows if this will ever happen again? And it hit me this morning that, like, and I get it, anytime he does this, pitching and hitting, it happens. But I hadn't really thought of it this way until I looked and said, oh, I got tickets for tonight. And I bought these tickets like 3 months ago, hoping that I'd get the double dose of Shohei Ohtani, and it worked out. But it hit me today. It's like, this is history. You know, I wish I could hold on to a ticket, but nowadays we don't even get that. Like, if you had a ticket back in 1921, 1918 to watch Babe Ruth pitch and hit, that's kind of cool, right? Be kind of cool to have a ticket of Ohtani pitching and hitting. But now everything's on this damn thing. It's a picture. Look, I can take an image of my ticket. It's stupid. It's awful. Now at least I'll have a scorebook, which will feature the game. And that will be around forever. So my scorebook, which I've been keeping for over a decade, that will go up in value. But this is cool. And it's got some cool vibes to it. I mentioned these tickets I got. The Cardinals had some kind of Valentine's Day sale. You get $5 tickets to midweek games. So I said, what the hell? Take a shot. $5 tickets for the Wednesday game against the Angels. And if nothing else, I get to watch Ohtani hit and Trout hit. Well, lo and behold, Ohtani's going to pitch too. So lucky me. You know what I decided to do? I said, you know what? I got 2 tickets. Me and my dad, we're going to this game. I got 2 other tickets. I'm selling them. These are $5 tickets. I've already sold 1 ticket for $25. Okay. If anyone's interested, the other ticket is available for a little bit less. I'm not trying to make a killing, but somebody who wants to see this greatness, enjoy it. But I made my money back and more with the 1 ticket. So God love you, Shohei Ohtani. You make it a buyer, or I should say, you make it a seller's market here in St. Louis with those $5 tickets. Hopefully I can sell that other one. I guarantee I'll sell it. It's like an upper deck seat. I'll get good money for it tonight. So thank you, Ohtani. Odds on that game. 6.5 Ks is the over-under. The over on Ohtani's -120. The under is -110. I'll take the over. 17.5 outs. The over is -170. The under is +130. That would mean getting 2 outs in the 7th would be the under, or excuse me, 2 outs in the 5th would be the under. Anything beyond that would be the over. I'm going to go with the over on Ohtani. The win, yes, is +135. No is -180. I'll go with the no there, as Ohtani is up against Miles Michaelis. First pitch, 7:45 tonight. I will be there. Oh, yes, I will be there. Probably never get to see it again. You know, the Angels, I guess now with the new schedule, they're coming to town every 2 years. But again, where's he going to be at next season? Is he going to continue to be a pitcher? We all have to realize this, that maybe 2-3 years from now, maybe Ohtani's not a pitcher anymore. As great as he is, maybe a team says we'd rather focus more on the hitting. Or maybe there's an arm injury and they just decide to scrap it. So who knows where this goes? But if you have the opportunity, especially if somebody's offering a ticket for $20, if you have the opportunity to watch Ohtani pitch and hit in the same game, take it. No guarantee that we'll ever see anything like this ever again. So I'll be there tonight. Oh, yeah. That's something that matters to me. First game of the year for me, so I'm looking forward to it. Let's take a breather here. When we come back, something else I am looking forward to, 1999 Donruss. Oh, yes. I think these are red cards. They're not bad. They're not half bad. There is a very expensive air card in this set. We'll tell you about that coming up next. We'll break open the pack on the 5-pack right here on the Better Sports Network.
The Las Vegas Raiders have traded up to 35, and they give up the 38th overall pick. In addition, a 5th-round pick goes to Indianapolis as the Colts trade down. The pick is in. And, Coop, your top 2 tight ends, best tight ends available, are now off the board as Michael Mayer is going to be the Darren Waller replacement in Las Vegas, catching balls from Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe somebody else in the future. But Michael Mayer is off the board. The Raiders have traded up, and I always look at this, too, from like dynasty fantasy football standpoint. I always like the guys that are traded up for. Michael Mayer gets traded up for as he is off the board now at pick 35. He goes to the Raiders. How does he fit in this system? Not only with Jimmy Garoppolo, but also Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, some significant pass catchers there, including Hunter Renfrow now.
Eric, I love that you pointed that out, because that's the part of the draft that people forget when they're doing their analysis. They think about the draft capital, they think about the landing spot, they forget the draft narrative, right? This proves to us that the Raiders, at the very least, had Michael Mayer as high as Sam Laporta, or maybe even higher, because they're looking around and saying, all right, that guy's gone. We have to get this guy right now. And this guy probably is a better fit for what Josh McDaniel wants to do. He's used to Rob Gronkowski. He's used to Hunter Henry, these two-way tight ends that can block and run routes down the seam. Sam Laporta is not going to do that. He's only 240 pounds. This guy is your prototypical real-life tight end. That's why a lot of people were saying he's the best real tight end in the draft. Clearly, pass catching is at a premium. That's why Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta went first. But this guy's going to fit really well into that scheme. My question is, when does he become fantasy relevant? Because the vast majority of tight ends that are fantasy relevant are top 2 targets on their team, with Devontae Adams there and Jacoby Myers there,
that's not happening.
and Hunter Renfrow there. I mean, when does it happen, Moose? How long do we have to wait?
Yeah, forever. It might be a while. I mean, when you look at it, but I do think he's a great fit.
Time now for the Daily Pack Rip on the 5-Pack with Kyle Elfrink.
A bit of RATM to celebrate their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rage Against the Machine was announced in the Rock. It's a very interesting class this year in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You've got Kate Bush, Kate Bush has always been a very popular artist in certain underground circles. But it was not until Stranger Things decided to dig up and unearth an early Kate Bush song in the 80s that she became popular again. And now she's in the Hall of Fame. Missy Elliott's in the Hall of Fame. Mentioned Rage Against the Machine. Willie Nelson is in the Hall of Fame. All you had to do was turn 90 and you can make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Interestingly enough, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, by the way, is extremely cool. Like, if you're ever in Cleveland, Ohio, go to it. But the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an institution is totally uncool. Like, for instance, Willie Nelson. He makes the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Great, congrats. He didn't even get nominated until this year. So they're trying to play catch up just a bit. Sheryl Crow also in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So congrats to all. Today, we are going to be ripping open a pack from 1990. Don't even think maybe the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had just started in Cleveland, Ohio. Maybe 88, 92, somewhere in there. 1990 Donruss is coming your way. This pack of this set is huge. It's over 700 cards. There is no reason. Remember, we didn't have even 30 teams back in 1990. There is no reason to have 700 cards. Yet Upper Deck and pretty well everybody said, what the hell, let's make 700 cards. So got a lot of cards here that are possible. We have a lot of different variations. I don't know why Donruss did this, but variations are a part of this set. It's kind of weird that way. Secondarily, there is a Juan Gonzalez air card here. Now, this would have been Juan Gonzalez's rookie card. And there is a reverse negative. Kids, you can actually do a reverse negative with your iPhone. Check it out. But back in the day, you screwed up if you did reverse negative, like your photography geeks screwed it up. So this Juan Gonzalez reverse negative, which you can tell very easily you got it if the 19 is backwards, plus the Rangers is backwards, plus it shows him as a left-handed hitter when he was a right-handed hitter. That card is worth in the hundreds of dollars. Nothing else from this set is worth in the hundreds of dollars, but that Juan Gonzalez is. So maybe, oh maybe, we can fish it out of here. Now already I'm opening up this wax pack, and the wax is sticking like crazy. I don't need to be careful because the cards, but look at that. I've already got a bit of paper down. Where is that? Yeah, a bit of paper down there. Sorry about my hands. I know nobody wants to look at my fingernails, but anyway. Let's see. We start with it's Donruss, so you got to get puzzle pieces. The puzzle this year, was it Yastrzemski? Yeah, Carl Yastrzemski. That appears to be his shoulder. I think he maybe made the Hall of Fame in 90, maybe a little earlier. But anyway, he was the guy they celebrated. Okay, we've got 16 Donruss baseball cards here. And as noted, we've got the red background. We start off with the ever-exciting Bob Kipper. Is there anything more exciting than Bob Kipper? There are probably a few things more exciting than Bob Kipper. Let's see. Is there anything interesting about Bob Kipper? Not really. Sorry, I got nothing. Bob Kipper stuck around as a reliever all over the place. Mike Sharperson with the LA Dodgers never became much of anything. He was like a 4th, 5th outfielder, pinch hitter kind of guy. Got a big fresh cap though for his spring training photo. What was that? Vero Beach? Yeah, that's where the Dodgers used to be, down in Vero Beach. Here is a guy who I remember around this time, 1990, 89. Was like, I don't want to say a future star, but it's like, oh yeah, he'll become something. He'll turn into something. Todd Benzinger, first baseman for the Reds. Now the story with Todd Benzinger, and let me see if I'm correct here, because thankfully Donruss tells me how the player was acquired. Yes, I was correct. How about that? Todd Benzinger originally came up with the Red Sox and was traded to the Reds for another first baseman. Nick Asaski went to the Red Sox, and Benzinger, the youngster, went to the Reds. Now, Asaski, I think, had some vertigo issues, maybe, once he got to the Red Sox, and his career fizzled out. Benzinger was a pretty good player for about 5-6 years. Might have been, yeah, he was a part of the World Series winning team with the Reds in 1990. So he's got a World Series ring, but was a decent player, but never really a star. Was just talking about Mike Sharperson. Here's Mike Davis. Every time I see Mike Davis, I think of 2 things. One, actually 3 things. One, the glasses. You know, back in the day, they didn't all wear Oakleys. 2, the wristbands. I talked about those wristbands a couple of weeks ago on the show. Back in the 80s and 90s, guys wore wristbands, and you can't really see it there with Davis, but guys wore wristbands with kind of a pencil, maybe a stencil drawing of themselves. Mike Davis always had that. Mims bands is what they were called. Thank you very much, Heather Klein. Dusty Baker, by the way, still wears Mims bands. There's an artist, I think his last name maybe is Mims or something, but he did these. And if you're of a certain age, you remember these things. All the major leaguers wore them. Barry Bonds wore them. Bryce Harper, I'm told, wears them. So Mims bands are kind of cool. And then the other thing with Mike Davis, the third thing, is he was the man on base when Kirk Gibson hit his legendary home run off Dennis Eckersley. Here's a guy that we had last week, Mark Grant. Remember I told you about, it was Mike Davis, I think it was. Mark Grant, who I believe maybe check this, Heather. Mark Grant, is he a part of the Padres television crew? I think Mark Grant is. Obviously, here he is with the Padres. I believe, let me take a closer look. I would make a wager that is the old Busch Stadium behind Mark Grant with the blue wall. And the other turn on about Busch Stadium is you can see the railing up above. You had a walkway behind the wall. Thank you very much, Heather. Mark Grant is currently the color commentator for the Padres. So there you go. Mike Schooler. I have no idea where Mike Schooler is these days. Maybe Heather can look that up. Who knows about Mike Schooler? You can see an ad, though, you don't get to see nowadays. This is at Old Yankee Stadium. Check out that Marlboro ad. You know, back in the days, you could advertise to kids. You could tell them, hey, cigarettes, they'll make it cool. Nowadays, you can't do that. But cigarettes will make you cool, just for the record. Chip Hale of the Minnesota Twins. His career was as boring as his photo is here on 1990 Donruss. Now, here is a guy, when you say his name, most people roll their eyes in disgust. Rafael Palmeiro. Oh, Rafi. He was a part of a great contingent of Rangers. It was Rafael Palmeiro, Julio Franco, Ruben Sierra, Juan Gonzalez. Rafael Palmeiro. These were his, this was coming off his first year with the Rangers. He had been with the Cubs before that. The Cubs no longer needed Rafael Palmeiro because they had Mark Grace. So they traded Palmeiro, who at the time never profiled as a guy who would hit 30 home runs. And what did he do? Hit 500 in his career? Might have been doing that with a needle stuck in his rump, but still he hit 500. So Rafael Palmeiro, Not a rookie card, but first year there with Texas. I am told that Mike Schooler, this makes sense. I could have guessed this. Thanks to Heather Klein doing some quick detective work. Mike Schooler, guess it, folks, just take a guess. What do you think a guy named Mike Schooler is doing nowadays? Well, we are told that Mike Schooler is a high school gym teacher who also is a high school pitching coach. I swear, guys, I played baseball. Listen, you punks, I got a card in the 1990 Donruss baseball set. Yeah, Coach Schooler, everybody has a card in the 1990 Donruss set. There's 720 of these damn things. Even Mike Schooler gets a card. That doesn't mean anything, Coach. I mean, hell, even Pat Combs got a card. Pat Combs was a rated rookie. Nothing. Pat Combs didn't do a thing, I don't believe. He was the number one choice of the Phillies in the 1988 draft. Maybe out of Newport, Rhode Island. Here's a hint. Don't draft guys out of Rhode Island to play baseball. Look at this. A checklist for Diamond Kings. Not a checklist for the team or the set. There's a big write-up. I got to read this. The Diamond King series, which now includes 224 different paintings of the national games greats, has become a prized and highly sought-after collectible among collectors. It's a special favorite of autograph card collectors. That's kind of repetitive. This year, we salute 3 previously recognized Diamond Kings: Steve Sachs, Lou Whitaker, and Willie Randolph. The Diamond Kings have been reproduced from original watercolors by Donruss's exclusive artist, Dick Perez, artist in residence, Perez Steel Galleries in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. His original works may be seen at the Donruss Art Gallery, as well as the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and in private and other institutional collections throughout North America. I wonder how many of these Dick Perez ended up doing these Diamond Kings paintings. I've talked about them before. They're pretty cool. We'll have to see if we get a Diamond Kings. We got a few more cards left. Nothing's more exciting than getting a baseball card showing you trying to bunt. Decent form. Not the worst I've seen from John Moses. But he doesn't look like a guy who knows how to bunt, does he? I mean, he doesn't fit that profile. Great first name. Love this one. Storm Davis. Storm Davis. God love you, Storm. Pat Sheridan of the San Francisco Giants. Left-handed pinch hitter. Kind of was a pinch hitter his whole career. He had some Tigers days, I think. Sheridan, that photo was taken at old, Candlestick at 11:24 Pacific time. See? That would be 2:24 for those out in the East Coast. Mike Fielder, who this card is probably most notable for the simple fact that Mike Fielder's got an awesome baseball cap. One of the first baseball caps I bought that was kind of like outside of the norm. You know, when you grow up, wherever you grow up, if you grow up in a certain market, you get the hat of that team. You know, but back in, nowadays you can go to the local mall or whomever, and they got, like lids. They've got 500 caps. But it used to be you'd have to order caps. I remember getting an old Brewers cap, simply put, because of the emblem, the M and the B. Never got tired, even when Mark Fielder wore it. Andres Thomas, first baseman for the Braves. And then we close down the pack with Jim Acker. Ugh, Ack. Bad way to close down the set. Not a whole lot in this set. Let's see. We got Rafael Palmeiro. Kind of cool. We learned a bit about Diamond King cards. Talked a little bit about Todd Benzinger. And then I guess probably the most notable thing from this pack of cards is that we learned that Mike Schooler is now a school teacher. That'll do it for the 5-pack. Back tomorrow. Thanks to Heather Klein. We'll see you at noon Eastern on BSN.